with Jimmy Muyaha on SAfm.
It's personal finance time on a Monday. In this time, we're taking a look at careful festive spending and festive lending. In a time where we find ourselves wanting to give the best to our families, it's important to remember not to go into unnecessary debt for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. We're going to be taking a look at this in a bit more detail with the head of data science at the Metis Group, Siva Dhever, joins me on the line now to see how we can be more responsible this festive season. Siva, lovely to have you on the show. Thanks so much for taking the time. The festive period is often one where things like Black Friday and Christmas spending and Christmas presents become a norm in households, but it can also mean then that affordability comes into question and whether or not these items are actually necessary. How do we approach the Christmas conversation, or at least the festive conversation, from a spend perspective without going into unnecessary debts?
Thank you, Jimmy, for having me on your show today. Well, first we have to understand, why do people spend during this festive season? And there's a few reasons for that, and that would be the desire to provide the perfect gift for their family and children, competing with their friends and relatives, keeping up with the social media lifestyle, as also the Black Friday and festive promotions, which create an urgency and fear of missing out. So people think that Black Friday would be heavily discounted items, but they often confuse discounts with affordability. There's the increased use of credit cards and store accounts, and people don't often realize the impacts of the December month on the rest of the year, the next year, the January, where you trying to figure out, how do I pay for school fees? Do I have enough money for groceries? And those are the kind of things we need to start educating people around.
There certainly are a lot more emotional decisions made over the festive period. Siva, when we look at it from a lending perspective, is there data that suggests that perhaps lenders try to offer more attractive offers in this time, understanding that they get to leverage off of the emotion that people are feeling?
Yes, well, I guess if you're looking at the formal sector, we do see banks, offering credit card increases, sending you these SMSs saying you qualify for credit limit. And, on your credit card or your overdraft facility, you have loans that you could apply for. But that's just the formal sector. Then you get the informal sector, where obviously these guys do not have that luxury of banks sending them this information, because they non-banked in some cases, or don't meet the minimum credit thresholds to qualify for credit. And this is where microlending becomes a key factor for that kind of population, is that it's easily accessible. You don't have heavy paperwork to fill in. So that's kind of where we look at the formal versus informal, and how lenders can attract you. And often it's not necessarily just the interest rates. There could be just flexible repayment terms.
Like deferred payments, I know we see those every now and then, where lenders will say, don't worry, you can pay us back at a later date, but you're still accruing interest in that time. Speaking of interest, Siva, I want to take a look at the lending over the festive period. Typically, does that come with higher interest rates, whether informal or formal lending? And what are kind of the dangers of just jumping into an interest agreement that you haven't really considered how you're going to be able to repay it for, or repay it back?
So we don't often see higher interest rates. We do see a high influx of applications, and generally interest rates, or pricing as you call it in the formal sector, would be more risk-based. So if your credit profile isn't satisfactory, you could be priced differently due to how you are. Well, at Matters and our company XDS, which is a credit bureau, we look at these credit scores, and we understand that lenders look at these credit scores as well. And this is how they inform how much they are willing to give somebody. Now, a credit score essentially is just an indication of how good of a payer you are. So lenders use that then to determine what kind of price they should be giving, or interest rate they should be applying to this particular person. And often there are caps to the interest rate that formal lenders cannot go above. However, with the informal sector and unregistered lenders, that isn't the case.
Siva, so how then do consumers protect themselves going into the festive period? How then do consumers avoid unnecessary lending and just make smarter decisions around the borrowings that they might be looking to take on?
Consumers need to ask themselves the following questions. Am I using this credit for non-essential items, such as gifts, clothes, or vacations? Or are these items something I need to run my household, make sure my kids are fed, make sure I'm able to get to work? So it's understanding the need versus the want. Also understanding if I do want something, can I afford it if I were to pay cash? Lenders also need to understand the different providers out there, and also should learn to shop around, not necessarily just take the first credit opportunity that they get. Understand the loan terms and agreements that are put before them before signing any agreement. Make sure that that they're not borrowing from friends or family to cover their basics before applying for credit elsewhere. And also stay within their budget, understanding how much they can afford and how much are these items really worth to them.
There you have it, folks. Be reasonable and responsible in your festive spending and festive lending so that you don't find yourself having overextended yourself going into the new financial year. We'll leave the conversation on that note. Thanks so much to Siva Dhever, the head of data analytics at the Metis Group, joining us to take a look at festive lending and how to be responsible